Two. How is everyone doing? I hope you're all doing fine. Today, guys, we're going to be looking at Unit 6, and I'm going to be solving the revision pack for Unit 6. Now, in our last video, I talked about Unit 5, and I did the Unit 5 revision pack with you guys to show you the different objectives we had in Unit 5. Today, we're going to be covering Unit 6 and the concepts we took in Unit 6. So let's get started. The first thing, guys, I want you to do, whatever you have any questions or any activities or any tasks that you have to finish, is I want you guys, please, to make sure you read the question so you understand what you have to do. Question 1 says, model the following division sentences, then find the answer. Now, in division, it's a little different than multiplication. We look at the division sentence. For example, here, 20 divided by 5. We have 20 divided by 5. Now, in division, the second number in my division sentence is going to be the number of groups I have. So here, it's 5, so I have 5 groups modeled. And 20 is going to be, for example, the objects I'm going to equally share in every single group. Now, one way to do this is to take the number I have here, the 20, the large number, and keep on placing an object in each group until I reach 20. Let's see how. For example, here, I'm going to take, one second. Okay, I'm going to take my 20 and equally share it. I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Now, I stop here because here I know that I have finished the number of objects that I have, which are 20, and I can see that they equally fit in all the groups. So 20 divided by 5 gives me what's inside each group. In division, the answer is what's inside the group, each individual group, and they all have to be equal. All right? So here I'll say 20 divided by 5 is going to give me 4. Let's go to the next one. Now, the next one says 16 divided by 4. What's the answer? I have 4 different groups because the second number is 4, and I'm going to equally share 16. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So I stop here because I finished with the objects that I have, which are 16, and I can see that they equally all have the same number, which is also 4. So I know that my answer is going to be 4. Now, another way, guys, to do this is, for example, if you have the multiplication tables memorized, you can look at, for example, the third one, 18 divided by 3. If you know the 3 times table, you can just say 3 multiplied by what gives me 18. And if you already know the answer, which is 6, you can automatically just place 6 in each group, as I'm doing right now. Instead of counting on, I'm going to already model it and place 6 in each group to model my answer. And then you'll know that 18 divided by 3 is going to give you 6. So that's another strategy to do. Here, we have 10 divided by 2. What's the answer for this? I have 2 groups, and 2 times what gives me 10? This one's relatively easy. I know that 2 times 5 is going to give me 10. So here I could do 5 different objects, and I know that my answer is going to be 5. This is a quicker way to do it if you have your multiplication tables memorized. See, guys, there's always a connection between division and multiplication. Here, we have 7 divided by 1. So what do I have to do here? I place my objects inside here, and I know any number divided by 1 is going to give me 7. And the last one, 3 divided by 3. I have 3 groups, and I want to know how much what 3 multiplied by what gives me 3. This one's an easy one. It's also going to be here. I'll place 3 different objects. One second. All right, guys. Here, I'll do 1, 1, 1 until it gives me the correct answer. Let's go up so we can write it. Okay, now, whenever you want to think about division and multiplication, always know that they have a connection between them. Okay, so the important thing is, if you know your multiplication, you'll be able to solve your division quickly. Here, and then we write 1. Okay, now the next one here is we have a fact family. Now, in our lessons last week, we talked about fact families and we solved multiple ones together so that we got multiplication and division sentences. Now, in fact families, the numbers are going to be on the top. You'll usually have 3 numbers where you're going to use them to get your information. Here, I have 4, 2, and 8. Now, in multiplication, a trick is you always use the smaller numbers to get the bigger number. So here, I'm going to place 4, and I'm going to multiply it by 2, and I know that 4 times 2 gives me 8. Now, remember we said multiplication was commutative, which means if I switch my numbers, I put the 2 first and I multiply it by 4, that is also going to give me 8. So now I finished my 2 multiplication sentences using the numbers on the top. I'm going to make my division sentences next. Now, division, we always start with all the items that we have and we want to divide them, which means to share equally between the second number. So here, my big number here, my largest number is going to be 8. So I write 8, and then I'm going to divide it by 4 first. And that's going to give me 2. One way, guys, to check your division is to multiply these 2 numbers to check your answer. All right, then my last division sentence is going to be 8 divided by 2. I switch the number of groups, and that gives me 4. All right, so right now we finished our first fact family. Let's move on to our second one. I have 6, 5, and 30. All right, so if I want to start with 5, I can do 5, and I'm not going to multiply it by 30. I'm going to multiply it by 6 because multiplying them together gives me 30. All right, see how in multiplication the big number is always after the equal sign? Here, let's switch to the commutative property and do 6 multiplied by 5, as I did right now. And it's also going to give me the same answer, which is 30, because multiplication is commutative. Now, for division, we switch it up. We take the big number, the largest number, which is 30, because I want to divide it. Division, like we said earlier, means to share equally. I'm going to divide it here by 5. And 30 divided by 5 groups gives me 6 in each group. And then 30 divided by 6 here, let's just place 6, will give me 5. Right now, we just finished our second fact family using the numbers that they provided for us on the top. Fact families are an easy way to show the connection between multiplication and division. All right, now here it says, solve the following multiplication and division word problems. Draw to show your work. So here we have both multiplication and division. See why it's always important to read the instructions or the questions, guys, because maybe you would have thought that all of them were division or they were all multiplication. So it's super, super, super important to read whatever questions you have so you know what to do. Let's read number 1. It says, Sada works at a restaurant. She makes 3 cakes every day. How many cakes will she make in 5 days? So here are my 5 days. And I want to know how many cakes she's going to make. So I'm going to place 3 in each day. For example, the second day, the third day, she made 3. Here, she made another 3. And the last day, she made 3. Now here, because we have the number of groups and she made 3 in each one, we know that we're going to be using multiplication here because we want to add them together, multiply them together, and see how many cakes she made. So I take my number of groups and I multiply it by the number of cakes she made. Okay. And this is going to give me 15 cakes. Let's not forget the unit. Here we have 15 cakes. Okay, guys? Now, let's look at the second one and see if we're going to use multiplication or division. Here it says there are 5 girls. See how I have 5 girls? How many hands do they all have? Now, let's think about it, this one. Here, we want to know all of them the number of hands they have. So here we're going to also use multiplication because we want to know how many they are in all. So each girl has 2 hands, as we can see. You can circle them if you'd like, but I think it's very clear that every girl has 2 hands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the number of girls I have. Here I have 5 girls, and we're going to multiply it by how many hands they each have. They each have 2 hands. So that's going to give me 10 hands. Right? And you can also count 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. All right? So we can do counting, modeling, and the multiplication sentence to know how to solve it. All right, now let's go to the bottom and see. Here it says Adam has 8 balloons. He shares them equally with his 2 friends. How many balloons does each friend get? Now, here, I'm going to put a circle under 8. And here we have 2 friends. And how many balloons does each friend get? The word each also shows me what I'm going to be doing here. Now, before the keywords told me that it was about multiplication. And now the keywords show me that they want to divide them into each different group. So we know that we're going to be using division. So here we have 8 balloons and he has 2 friends. Let's imagine this was the first friend and the second friend. I'm going to equally place 8 into the circles. I'm going to stop here because I only have 8, so we stop at the number we have. And we're going to see that each friend is going to take 4. All right? Remember, like we said earlier, it's really important, guys, to make sure they have equal numbers. So here, if I write my division sentence, I say 8 divided by his 2 friends equals to 4 balloons. We also have to write the unit for division. So here was a division word problem where we also circled the keywords, we modeled it, and we wrote the division sentence to get the answer. All right, guys? Now, here it says, number 4, Tony has 12 pieces of pepperoni. He wants to put an equal amount on each of the 6 pizza slices. How many pieces should he put on each slice? So here we know that this person has 20 pieces of pepperoni, the ingredient, and he has 6 pizza slices. He wants to equally place on each slice. Remember, the keyword here is going to be each. So here we have each slice of pepperoni. Now, what do I do here? I want to distribute or equally share my 12 pieces of pepperoni. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I still have more. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I stop here because I only have 12 pieces. Now, here, I took the 12 pieces I have and I divided them by the 6 slices of pizza, and they equally all got 2 pieces. So by modeling, we see that each slice of pepperoni here got 2 ingredients on it. Okay, and we also have to put the unit at the end. Now, let's move on to the next part. Here, guys, 4. 4 says, study each multiplication sentence, then write 2 division sentences. Now, the first one's done for us. A here is done for us. It shows us that 3 times 4 equals 12. Now, like before, remember when we did the fact families, we saw that there was a connection between them. So what we're going to do is we're going to see how they connected it. Here, 3 times 4 equals 12. So I took the 12 because if I want to do division, think of it as the opposite of multiplication. I take my 12 and I divide it by 3. Here's the number of groups, and that gives me 4. And I also switch the numbers below it to give me 4 groups that give me 3 each. B says 5 times 4 equals 20. So I'm going to take the number in total. I know in division I start with a big number. So here I write 20. And I want to divide it first by 4. So I have 4 groups, and I know from my multiplication sentence it's going to give me 5. And then I do 20 again, because division has to start with a larger number. And I divide it by 5, and that gives me 4. So here I have a connection between division and multiplication, where I use the same numbers, just like before in the fact families, to make my division sentences. All right, guys? Now, here I have division facts. Now, just like multiplication facts, we can use them. Remember, we used addition for multiplication facts. Here we can use multiplication to help us solve our division facts. Here, for example, I have 16 divided by 4. I can model 4 groups and equally share 16. Or if I know my 4 times table, I could think, what number multiplied by 4 gives me 16? And if I already know it, I know it's going to be here 4. So I write 4. 27 divided by 3 gives me 9. If I know my 3 times table, I know that 3 times 9 gives me 27. Here, it's going to be 4, because 8 divided by 2 is 4. So 2 times 4 is 8. That's how we check our answer. 6 divided by 1. Now, what times 1 gives me 6? Any number divided by 1 gives me the same number. So we know it's 6. 15 divided by 5 gives me 3 from the 5 times table. 4 divided by 4 is 1. That's a division property. Any number divided by the same number gives me 1. And then I have here 20 divided by 5. What times 5 gives me 20? From my multiplication tables, I know it's 4. 6 divided by 3. 3 times what gives me 6? Either the 2 or the 3 times table gives you the same answer. Now 10 divided by 1. Remember before we said any number divided by 1 gives us the same number. So here I write 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 40 divided by 4 is 10. My 4 times table. 15 divided by 3, it's the, we're going to connect it to this one. So we know that it's going to be 5. There's always a connection, guys. 40 divided by 5. What times 5 gives me 40? From my 5 times table, I know it's 8. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 times 2 also gives me 12. And 4 divided by 1 is going to give me 4. Now here, guys, like I said, I solved them quickly because I connected them to the multiplication tables that we memorized earlier. Now, question 6. Here, guys, we have a tally and a graph, okay? Now, it says each time you see an image, make a tally mark, then use your tally marks to make a graph. So here, I have different objects in my picture. For example, here, this leaf, I want to count it so I can make my tally marks. I look at the picture. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So here I'm going to make 5 tally marks. Just like before, we do 4, and the 5th one goes across. My green leaf, let's see how many green leaves I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a group of 5, where I do the last one across, and I add 1 next to it. Let's see how many baskets I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here I have 7 baskets. What I do is I make a group of 5. It's always easier to make groups of 5, guys, and tally marks to help us count faster. So here I have the 2, which is 7. Now, here's scarecrows. Let's see how many I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I also have 7 scarecrows. So here I do my group of 5, and I add 2 more. And let's see how many broomsticks I have. I have 1, 2, and 3. So here they don't make a group of 5. We only do 3 individual ones. All right, now here I want to fill this graph. I look at my leaf, the first one. It says I have 5. So here you're supposed to color it all the way up to 5 and stop here. All right, guys, the green leaf is 6. So for example, I color all the way up to 6. My basket is 7. So it goes all the way up to 7. The scarecrow is also 7, so we color up to 7. And here we only color up to 3 because we only have 3. Another way to help us do it, for example, is on the side, you can write the numbers for the tally mark so that you see it and you understand how to fill your graph easier and faster. All right, guys, so here we use tally marks to fill the tally chart and to make the bar graph. Let's go to question 7. Here it says we have a pictograph and we want to answer the questions below. Now, remember, the first thing anytime we see a pictograph is we have to look at the title, what the items are, and we have to look at my key. Here it says, what do we drink for breakfast? We have milk, hot cocoa, and juice. Now I know that each carton of milk is for one child. Here, each hot cocoa mug is for one child, and each juice box is going to be for one child. So automatically now, after I've seen my key, I know that they're all going to be counting one by one. Let's go to question 1. Question 1 says, how many children drink milk for breakfast? I go to milk and I count by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here, I'm going to write 7 as my answer. Number 2 says, how many children drink hot cocoa? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I write 5 here. 3, what do most children drink for breakfast? Here we want to know for breakfast, what do people here drink the most? The kids, what do they drink? Here I know that I have for milk, I have 7. Hot cocoa was 5. Let's look at the juice. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So here, guys, I have 9. An easier way to remember our information is to write them next to it. Here you can write 5 and 7. That represents the number. So here, if I look at the numbers and I look at my objects, I know that they drink juice the most because 9 is the biggest number out of them all. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write here they drink juice the most. All right, now let's look at number 4. Number 4 says, how many more children drink juice than milk? Here we see that 9 kids drink juice and 7 kids drink milk. When I want to know how many more, the easiest way is either to count up or find the difference, which is subtraction. So here I look at the juice boxes. I have 9 and here I have 7. So I want to know how many more drink juice than milk. I take 9 and I can take away 7 from it. 9 take away 7 gives me 2. So 2 more children drink juice than milk, or you can count up from 7 to 9 and it also give you 2. Number 5 says, how many fewer children drink hot cocoa than juice? Here we see that hot cocoa has 5 and juice has 9. Just like before, either we count up or we can find a difference. 9 take away 5 is going to give me 4. Or if you count up from 5 to go up to 9, it's also 4. Let's look at number 6. It says, how many children like milk and hot cocoa all together? All together is one of the keywords that tells me here we have to add them because it's an addition keyword. So here I have milk and hot cocoa. So I add the 7 with the 5. 7 plus 5 gives me 12. So here I write 12. Now here it says, which breakfast drink do children like the least? Least means the one that has the fewest number. Okay, so it's the least popular. By looking at the number, I know here that the least was hot cocoa. Okay, so right now we use the pictograph and the key to help us solve the questions that they gave us. And like I said, it's really important to look at the key. What you can do also in the beginning of, before you answer your questions, you can underline the key so you remember what each object is represented by. All right, guys. Now, this was the last part of Unit 6. Unit 6 talks about division, the connection between multiplication and division, and it also talks about data handling and how we use information and we organize it in different forms of data handling. I hope you guys understood everything about this unit revision pack, and I hope you guys study it really well at home. And just like the pack you did before, the revision pack for Unit 5, I want you to please carefully read every part so that you answer it all correctly. All right, guys, that was it for today's lesson, for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and I miss you all. Bye, guys.